Chances are, if you're watching this video, you weren't born rich, you're not rich now, and you're not sure how to raise a child who will become rich. If that's true, here's the reality: the stakes have never been higher. In today's world, it's not enough for your kids to just go to college, get a lifelong job, and work hard. The game has changed, and if you think life in 2025 and beyond works the way it used to, you're playing a losing hand. If your child wasn't born rich, they'll need the tools to play the game, or the game will play them. Wealth isn't just about money anymore. It's about knowledge, strategy, and knowing how to thrive in a world that's moving faster than ever. So, if they weren't born rich, make sure they become rich. Or better yet, make sure their kids are born rich. But how do you make that happen? In this video, I'll share actionable tips, strategies, and tools to help you raise a Gen Alpha child who's prepared to succeed in ways their peers won't be.
I've talked a lot about kids who grew up with wealth and privilege, but let's talk about the greatest privilege of them all, in my opinion, which is growing up with very financially literate parents. And here are some of the things that my parents did for me growing up that has set me up financially for success while I finish getting ready for the day. The first thing being that the second my adoption papers were signed when I was like 2 months old, my parents set up a custodial Roth IRA account, and the max contribution you can have to that account is $6,500 a year, but it has to be the child's income. My mom owns a company. I don't know exactly what they did, but her lawyers and accountants set it up so that I have been an employee of her company since I was less than a year old, and my job was modeling. She owns a software company. Nothing I ever modeled for actually went into the public, but I did one photo shoot a year with a salary of $6,500.
This is only about $500 or $600 a month. And maybe you're thinking, I don't have an extra $500 just lying around. But let me ask you this. Do you ever order food delivery? Make impulse purchases? Shop online a little more than you need to? What if you could redirect just a small amount of that money into an account that could completely transform your child's future? The goal is to give your child a head start so powerful they could begin adulthood with the kind of wealth most people can only dream of. So, let's hear how far it went for her, and why this simple move could be life-changing for your child.
So from 0 to 18, there was a total of $117,000 transferred into that account, and because of compounding interest, which we love, at 18, when the account had to be transferred under my name, I had about $220,000 in that account. I'm 25 now, I still contribute to the same account, and because yet again of compounding interest, now at 25, since being 18, the value in that account has almost doubled. So we love that. The second thing being car loans. I've had car loans being placed under my name, co-signed with my name, since I was 12 years old. Way before I could even drive. Now, why would my parents do that? Because a big thing that goes into your credit score is length of accounts, number of accounts, diversity of accounts, and obviously account size. So when I was about 11 or 12, my parents started co-signing my name to their car loans, which obviously I was not paying anything towards the car. It was just so that I could start building my credit. So even before I got my first car at 16, on my credit history, I had 3 car loans already that were fully paid off.
If you currently have a car or plan to get a new car, and your child is under 18, take notes.
Speaking of which, a couple of you guys have commented asking me what my first car was. So my parents had this rule in place that for every year that I got myself to school using public transportation, so bike or bus, they placed $2,500 in a car account for me. So starting when I was 8 years old, I would bike or bus to school, and my city didn't have like a city school bus system, so I had to take like the city bus. So it was a win-win because my parents didn't have to deal with like pick up and drop off, but also I was learning how to use public transportation. It was great for everyone. But by the time I was 16, I had $20K in that account, and I cashed that out for a black Toyota Corolla Sport. It was my baby. I loved her so much. But no, I did not drive like a Mercedes to school, which a lot of you guys assumed. And honestly, I'm happy I didn't, because it's made me appreciate the cars that I have now. Speaking of loans, my parents did pay for my college in full, which I am so absolutely grateful for, but only after they made me take out a $5,500 student loan. Now, a lot of people think that's crazy. Like, why would they make me take out a student loan? One, it's because both my parents did pay for their own degrees, so this is a way of me having a little skin in the game and paying for my own degree and earning my degree. But most importantly, the student loan account was a huge benefit to my credit score, my credit history, yet again, because your credit is built off of how many accounts you have opened and diversity of accounts. So this student loan account has actually been such a huge impact on my credit score, and a big reason why my credit score is so high. I also have not paid the student loan off because since finishing my degree, the pause interest started from COVID, so I didn't have to, but now interest is starting again and I do need to pay it off. Although yet again, I am super lucky to be one of the students that has a pretty small loan. And one last major thing that they did for me was put all of our our properties in an irrevocable trust. So that way, when I inherit the properties down the line, I avoid paying some of the inheritance tax. You still have to pay taxes on the properties, but this just reduces the amount of taxes that you have to pay. Now, inheritance tax laws have changed over time and state by state, so look at your state. But I can tell you that when I worked in SF in real estate, one of the main types of clients that we had that were selling their houses were kids who inherited their parents' houses but couldn't afford the property taxes, so they had no choice but to sell. But look at your state's inheritance tax laws, and if it makes the most sense and you are able to put your properties in a trust for your children, they will be so grateful down the line.
Here's how I'm making my 1-year-old niece a millionaire. Before she was even born, I told my older sister I wanted to open an investment account for her. And instead of buying toys and other material items, I'd put money in that account on birthdays, Christmas, and other celebratory moments. I also figured this would be a perfect way and tool to teach her about money as she grows older. After telling the rest of my family about it, word spread and others were on board as well. Today, my niece turns 1 year old and she has $2,300 in her UTMA brokerage account, thanks to gifts from friends and family for her baptism, for Christmas, and for her birthday. Let's say that we continue to deposit money in this account instead of gifts for holidays and birthdays, and each year $500 is deposited, or $41 a month. Using a compound interest calculator, by the time she's 18, that account could have the potential of $30,000.
This is something so simple to do. Think about it. Like she mentioned, your child often receives gifts for birthdays, special events like baptisms or performances. What if, instead of another toy or trinket that they probably won't use after a couple of weeks, you could redirect that generosity into something that could transform their future? Let's listen in and learn a little bit more.
If at age 13 she left that $30K in the account and didn't contribute a single more dollar, thanks to compounding growth, she could be a millionaire by age 55. As you can see, the power of time is everything when it comes to investing. And so I'm making my 1-year-old niece a millionaire.
Here's how the rich set their kids up for long-term financial success. You might want to pay attention and consider doing the same. All right, Lil John, you're making good money now. We need to put some of that away for retirement. But Dad, I'm 10. Exactly. And if we max out contributions to your custodial Roth IRA, by the time you retire, you'll have $9.3 million tax-free. Can it just wait? Sure, you can wait till you're 18 to set it up, but you'd only have $4.3 million in retirement. Folks, opening up a custodial Roth or traditional IRA, super straightforward. The key is your child is working a job and paying income taxes. You open a custodial Roth IRA in their name and they can take full control of it when they are 18.
Rich people set up their kids for success long before they're born, and it's not even that complicated. I can explain it to you. I'm Vivian, your rich BFF, and your favorite Wall Street girlie who's going to give you this generational wealth secret. Before my kid's even born, I'm starting up a 529 plan. It is an investment account that allows you to save and invest for educational costs.
Some of you might already know about this type of account, but if you're not familiar, or maybe you just haven't set one up yet, this is something you need to hear. We all know the world is changing fast, especially when it comes to higher education. The jury's still out on whether college will even be necessary or worth it in the near future. But here's the thing. Having this extra layer of financial preparation can save both you and your child from unnecessary financial burdens down the line. Let's dive in and learn more about the 529 plan and why it could be one of the smartest moves you make for your child's future.
I'm going to set myself as the beneficiary and start contributing to it right away. The big benefit of using this account is that it's tax advantaged. I'm probably getting a state income tax deduction every year when I'm contributing to it, and I won't have to pay federal or state income taxes on the earnings. Once my kid is adopted or born, I will then reassign the account from me to them. Whether it's private school, growing up, or college, we will be able to withdraw money from this 529 plan tax-free to pay for these educational costs. Best part, if my kid's a star athlete or gets a scholarship and doesn't use all the money in the account, I can roll it over to one of their siblings or myself for the golf academy or cooking classes in retirement.
How is the 1% of the 1% spending their money?
On their kids' education. They might spend $1 million. The kids haven't even got out of high school yet, and it assures that generationally you're repeating. And I don't think people put enough emphasis on education.
When I was younger, my parents sent me to private school. And let me tell you, it's so true that there are so many advantages. We weren't the wealthiest family or the most influential at the school, but because my parents made it possible for me to attend, it opened doors for our entire family. Private school isn't just about education. It's about the connections your child can build, the networks they can access, and even the opportunities you as a parent can tap into. It creates access to upward mobility for your whole family. Now, there are often programs or resources that can make these environments more accessible than you might think. So, if there's even a small possibility for your child to attend, I'd encourage you to explore it. The impact it can have on their future, and yours, is worth it.
The school across the street, 60 grand for first grade. So, that's a big deal. By the time the kids graduate high school, they've already invested 880 grand, 900 grand. And if you invest 900 grand into anything, you're going to see a return. You might as well invest it into your children.
Let's raise some smart kids, okay?
Raise some smart kids.
When I was going to university, my parents told me, Albina, we really don't give a fuck if you go to classes, but what you have to do is go to the political clubs. I was studying in America, Syracuse University. President Biden went there. My first year in university, I ended up in a Republican club. My second year, I decided that now I'm gonna be a Democrat. All of them are absolute shit. And usually when you go to that club, somebody will always say, do you know who my daddy is? And the mistake which you're making most of the time, you're saying, I don't care who your dad is. I do. Please tell me who he is. I really want to know. Tell me all of the tea.
This is the mistake so many people make. They think, oh, I'm not rich, I don't care who you are or who your family is, you're not important. But that's the wrong mindset. Here's why. You should be thinking differently. Like she mentions, I do want to know. Yes, I'd love to chat about who you are and who your family is. Because in that conversation, you might uncover opportunities you'd never even imagined. Connections, insights, and doors that could change everything. Let's hear more about why she chooses to care and how that mindset could open new possibilities for you too.
I want to know how I will be using you in the future. When parents send their kids to expensive private schools, it's not only networking opportunity for the children, it's the networking opportunities for parents as well. So parents, you owe me some interest rate, by the way.
How the rich educate their kids. I worked with kids in families of the rich and famous for my entire career, A-list famous, and I have some interesting observations, and quite frankly, now that I'm a mom, there are some changes that I have made in terms of how I educate my own kids based on what I observed. Just a messenger, we don't need drama here. And don't comment about the beanie, it's freaking 0 degrees outside and there is not enough dry shampoo to help the situation that's under this. Number one, they know how to play the game. They know that it's not what you know, it's who you know, and they find out what they need to do to accomplish their goals, and they figure out how to do it.
This is one of the most important lessons your child can ever learn. I remember my parents teaching me this at a young age, and it stayed with me throughout my life. It's a truth that changes everything. It's not about what you know, it's about who you know. Access to resources, education, jobs, and opportunities, all of it comes down to the connections you build. This is the real secret to becoming successful. If you didn't know this before, now you do. Take notes, share this with your child, and help them unlock a future full of possibilities.
And they actually follow through. They start thinking about college in junior high, which is a change we have made. They do not do it all themselves. They outsource, they find the best people to do what they need to do, whether it is tutoring, SAT prep, or anything like that. And they make sure they have the right connections. Now, a lot of people think that the rich want their kids in like the best private school because they want the status. I disagree. They know that knowing the right people and their kids having the right friends will benefit them later.
Again, my friend, please remember this.
And they do whatever it takes to put their kids in a position to set them up for success. This is not a commentary on whether or not I disagree or agree with these practices. Now that all is said and done, these are my takeaways.
How do I teach my kids money skills? Yeah. Okay. When they're 6 years old or 5 years old, I give them $5 a week. And they had to keep a log. $3 for spending, $1 for giving, and $1 for savings. So if they would go like to someplace and they say, Dad, will you buy me the Coca-Cola? I say, yeah, you got your own money. Why don't you buy yourself one? They say, oh, no, I can't afford that.
You wouldn't want your child to have like a monthly allowance?
I wouldn't limit. I think it's one thing to learn how to live on a tight budget, but there's also another skill. One has to learn how to live on a grand budget, I'd say. It's also a responsibility that fails a lot of people at the same time. So
this is an interesting take you don't often hear about. Raising a child who's prepared for wealth. It's not about teaching them to be penny pinchers, constantly worried about money. And of course, it's not about raising a child who spends recklessly without understanding the value of effective money management. As you aim to raise a rich and wealthy child, you're also preparing them to handle large sums of money with responsibility and confidence. Because if they know how to manage wealth before they have it, they're far more likely to achieve long-term success and keep that success forever.
This is one thing which I would do differently than my parents. I would be way more strict with my kids' budget.
I don't want to put too much control over the kids, even though we might not admit to ourselves, maybe dosing is like 1 degree of control. And that's what I don't want to do. If you want to teach him responsibility, just give as much as you can and see what he or she does with it.
The most important thing that I learned about going to school with prep school kids was how can a B- student do so well interviewing and basically like get everything that they want without putting any effort into it. I'll never forget the first day of school. In my history class, the teacher was like, hey guys, welcome. Congrats on getting here. You're officially in the top 99.9% of the population. It seemed like a weird comment to me at the time, but I realized that their teachers do this all the time in private schools as they give them these affirmations about their ability to succeed. Energetically, it sets them up to be matched with the things that they want. We're taught the opposite in public schools. They tell us that we have to take the test, get the degree, get the certification, do all these things, constantly giving us this message of you are not deserving of it until you do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That makes you a poor energetic match for things.
This is such an important point because it explains why some kids grow up believing they can achieve anything, feeling like the world is their oyster. Meanwhile, others, especially less fortunate kids, go through life thinking they have to constantly prove themselves. They believe they need to ace every test, get perfect grades, join every club, excel in sports, get into a great college, and outperform everyone, just to maybe feel worthy of success. This mindset creates a constant cycle of, you have to do this first, before you can be worthy of that. Like she's saying, there's a better way to raise kids with a sense of confidence and worthiness that isn't tied to endless hoops they need to jump through. Let's hear more.
And energy is not this woo-woo thing. Like it very much is very real. From the perspective of quantum physics, matter is energy. Every single thing is energy. Like my hair, is energy. Every physical thing is energy. Your thoughts emit energy. And there's the very famous observer effect where observing a wave turns it into an electron. And so electrons only really show up if the mind or if the observer is looking for them. That's on a micro level. But if you take it onto a macro level, like your thoughts quite literally define your reality. The children of the rich have no concept of roadblocks. They have no concept of what could go wrong. They don't see things going wrong in their lives very often. So they have very little friction in terms of going after the things that they want, whereas people that grew up with strife, we have a lot of deprogramming to do, and so there is that systemic inequality. But it's not as systemic as like you need extra certifications and you need all these extra tangible things. It's more just like it requires more subconscious reprogramming, and that is the way that you leapfrog. Manifestation is literally just quantum physics on a personal level. I would recommend reading the book E Squared, and you can create little quantum physics experiments in your own life and see how you can literally like get things to materialize in 48 hours by just doing energetic work.
One of the number one strategy of the top 100 families in the world.
Yes.
It's teach your kids to create value first, not money, because money is a store of value. You have to go back to first principles. If you focus on value creation, material value, what you create and produce in the world, solving problems, financial reward is the reward of that. Emotional value, good friendships, how you think, how you feel. Spiritual value, how you love, how you live, mindset, lifting you up above your issues to a higher calling, to God, getting out of your ego, and that's spiritual value.
Yes.
So if we can teach our children, hey, we're gonna be value hunters in this home, that is the number one greatest asset you could ever give them. It's an unfair advantage for the rest of their life.
Here is what I noticed, how my rich friend, one of the girls I just started hanging out with, how she's raising her son, her 4-year-old son, that I'm going to implement into my life once I have a child. Hi, my name is Nika, not Nike, and I teach everything about financial literacy and how to become rich. So let's do it. Before we continue, shop my merch. Okay, it's in my TikTok shop. How cool is it? It's Tupac smoking a cigar. I love cigars. You guys know, like, I don't smoke cigarettes. I don't have any vices, but when I travel, every now and again, I will smoke a cigar. Like once or twice a year. Anyway, let's get into it. For context, she's a plastic surgeon. Her husband is an angel investor. And I came to LA to work on some procedure on my teeth because my veneers are terrible and they're hurting and they're causing me so much headache. And so she offered to take care of me so I can stay at her house. So I've been there for the last couple of days. And so everything I've learned from her has been incredible. Number one, I noticed that they speak very openly. And I mean, as open as you can get in front of their son about money, like very openly, the ins and outs of money, how much mom makes, how much dad makes. Like they will be discussing money on the dinner table right in front of the son, you know. And growing up in a middle class family, our parents never let us know that whatever they're dealing with financially, I never heard my parents talk about money ever.
Did you have conversations about money with your parents growing up? And more importantly, are you having those conversations with your kids today? The way families talk about money, or don't talk about it, makes all the difference. It shapes a child's outlook on wealth, opportunities, and success. Rich families and everyone else approach these conversations in completely different ways. Plus, it's not just about the amount of money, it's about the mindset around it too. Let's continue.
The kid has a game on his phone where he plays like this game, I have to get the name, and it teaches you how to invest money at a very young age. Like he's like learning how to be an investor at 4 years old. So like there's no shame around money. They don't see money as like something that you don't talk about, hush hush. Like they are very open about it. You know, mommy's going to work because mommy's got to make money. Like the conversation around money is so open around a 4-year-old. And I thought that was very interesting and very brilliant. Like, exposed a child to money at a very young age. Number two was really surprising to me because you will think that because they're so wealthy, that child will be entitled. And you learn quickly that the poor and middle class people are the ones who actually teach their children entitlement, not the rich and the wealthy, because that kid is not entitled to anything. He has a trust fund, and his mom will tell him at 4 years old, if he's not doing his homework or throwing a temper tantrum, she'll be like, "That goes your trust fund." And she says to him, like, you will literally only get your trust fund if you get into an Ivy League school. You do very well in life. You can get it at 22. But you are not entitled to my money.
Isn't it funny how so many people get it completely wrong about rich people and their kids? The stereotype is that all rich kids grow up entitled, expecting to inherit their parents' wealth without lifting a finger. But not all rich kids grow up entitled. In fact, many are taught valuable lessons about responsibility, hard work, and managing wealth. This is such an interesting perspective, and I'm glad she shared it. Let's see what's next.
Number three, they really help their children cultivate networking at a very young age. What you'll quickly realize around wealthy people is that the key to their success and the invisible thread that runs through every one of them is networking. They understand that you can't get anywhere in life without networking, and they teach their kid that at a very young age. So we went to a park together, and one of the kids was playing with her child, and she talked to the mom, and you could tell quickly that her mind was spinning, that this child's mother is also very successful. They're probably in the same tax bracket. And after she was done talking to the mom, she pulls her son, come here. And then she goes, "That's your new best friend." And before we left the park, she made sure that she set up a play date for the kids together. And so she goes, and she's joking, she goes, "Oh my God, they're both going to get into Yale together." Like, they see the future for their kid at a very young age, and she goes, well, they can help each other, they can help each other do homework. And number four, they teach their kid how to solve problems and how to be self-sufficient at a very young age. Now, she has a full staff, a maid, a cook, a chef. She has everything, like people who do everything for her around the house. And you will think like they will let that child have access to that staff because that staff, she's like, no, that staff is for me. So like any little thing, if that child comes to her and says like, "Oh, my mommy, I can't open this bottle," she'll go, "You can," and just look away. Like very casual, like she doesn't talk to him like a kid, like an adult, like, "Oh, you can." She's like, "Mommy, I can't turn on the television." "You can." "Mommy, I don't know how to do this." "You can. You'll do it. I trust you. You can do it." And she'll look away. Like that child would never suffer from weaponized incompetence, or he would never try it because like she makes himself like he will cry like, "Mommy, do it for me." And she'll be like, "You can do it. I believe in you. You can do it." And she'll like turn around and keep doing something else. And if any of her staff try to like intervene and help that child, she does not let them. She'll be like, "Stop. He can do it. Just let him do it." And the father's even a little more stricter than she is, which I thought, oh, what a dynamic. But yeah, she does not ever, very rarely does she intervene when he's working on something, when he's fixing something himself. Like if he can't do it, she does. And I noticed like I've met adults who are completely incompetent, who cannot get anything done on their own. They can't do their own taxes. They can't do anything. And you realize that because in their household, someone probably interjected, and people like that, they will grow up and they will resent you. Like parents want to feel like they succeed at life, and that child is just created to be successful because she does not intervene ever when he's struggling with anything, even with his homework. "I don't know how to do it." She goes, "You can do it. Keep trying. You can do it. I believe in you. Try harder." And I'm going to contrast this with a story that happened to me 10 years ago when I first moved to LA and I couldn't get my hair done. And I found this lady on Craigslist. And so I would go get my hair done at her house. And her house was rough. It was in Compton. It was terrifying. Like it was dirty. It was just not a place to raise a child. It was like 2-bedroom and there were 7 people in it. But she had a son that was maybe 5 or 6 years old, and the kid was so sweet. Like he would offer me drinks. Like he was just enamored by me, and I was enamored by him. And so one day, and it was the last time I ever went there, he had a water pew, and he's playing it around. He goes. And I love kids. Anyone who knows me knows I love children. So I started playing with him back. I'm like, and I was like, "You're going to be the greatest ever. You're going to be the best, the number 1 chief police in all of America. Oh, you could be a general. Oh, you could be," I started giving him all these ideas of careers that he can do because clearly he loves, He lit up. His eyes were like, You know, he was just so excited. That's when he was like, I think, loving that he has this hobby. And anyone who knows me knows I do this to kids, I do this to adults. If I can tell you have one particular talent or hobby, I would just pound it into you, because I just believe people have such high potentials. And his mom, I would never forget this. It's like, girl, don't tell him that. And she turns to the kid, she goes, I ain't ish. Your father ain't ish. Your grandfather ain't ish. Your uncle ain't ish. You ain't never gonna be ish. So you can put that pew down. And you could just see that kid went into himself. And I haven't thought about that moment again, because it destroyed me. I stopped going to her house because I'm like, how can a mother say that to her own child? Like, how can you do that to you? How can you kill your child's dream like that? And that memory, I kind of put it away for so long until I started hanging out with my friend, and I see how she talks to her child. And I'm like, oh, literally, kids are like plants. You can just water them.
This is a bit of a sad story because it highlights such a harsh truth. Kids are incredibly moldable. As parents, especially if your child is still young, you hold so much potential in your hands. You have the chance to shape their belief in themselves and to show them that they can achieve anything they set their minds to. If you pour positivity into your child, they will grow. The confidence, resilience, and dreams you plant in them today can transform their entire future. This is such an important point, one we can't afford to overlook.
Anyway, I got distracted. Number 5, they teach their kid discretion and a healthy dose of paranoia, which I think is pretty good because I'm a paranoid person. So, like, she would tell him all the time, people are going to hate you just because we're wealthy. People are going to think you're a bad person just because we're wealthy. You have to use your discretion. You cannot say this to this person. You cannot say that to that person. Like, they really teach their kids, like, privacy and, like, discretion at a very young age. But truly, just teaching them that the world is going to be mean to them because of how wealthy they are, and to be kind to people, but to use discretion when divulging information to people, because people are going to be out to get him his whole life. And I mean, again, she talks to him like I'm talking like an adult. Like, she doesn't use baby voice. She literally just talks to him like an adult. And she's like, you understand? And he's like, yeah, I understand. So they practice discretion. What you realize around wealthy people is that they really do a good job with how they raise their kids, contrary to popular beliefs. And I'm so enamored by her. And before you guys ask that she allowed me to share it, yes, they love that I share. And I send the video to them before I upload them. But yeah, she's such a great mom. I mean, she's such a boss. She's so busy. Her husband is so busy. And for her to be that hands-on with her son is just breathtakingly beautiful to watch. She's an impeccable mother. And if I could be anything close, 25%, if I can get that close to how she raised her kids, then I would feel like I've passed as a mother, because that kid is going to be very successful in all aspects of his life, 100%. I believe in you, and I hope you always believe in yourself. Bye.
So one of the most common things we see when it comes to passing down generational wealth is the knowledge. Rich parents raise rich children. So here are the lessons that I'm going to pass on to my daughter so that she stays rich long after I'm gone. The first thing is the difference between assets and liabilities, how liabilities depreciate and lose you money, whereas assets appreciate and multiply your money. I'm going to teach her to only purchase assets and avoid purchasing liabilities. The second thing is entitlement. I'm going to teach her that no one on this planet Earth owes her anything. She's not entitled to anything just because she has my money. Her performance matters. She has to make it up on her own, and she has to hold herself accountable. Number 3, I'm going to teach her to have a positive relationship with money. Whereas most parents will pass down their fearful relationship with money to their kids, where they look at money as something that's scarce and unavailable, I'm going to teach her that money is abundant and it's a tool that will help you make more money.
Parents, if you don't have the most positive, healthiest relationship with money, please, please, please don't pass this down to your child. Here's why. The goal isn't just to build wealth for yourself, it's to build generational wealth. And for that to happen, your child must see you have a healthy relationship with money. It must be their foundation.
Number 4, I'm going to teach her about business and how a job will never make her rich. She needs a way to remove the limit and the cap from her income in order to produce money quickly. And the only way to do that is through a skill or business. 5, I'm going to teach her the difference between good debt and bad debt. Debt that's used to purchase assets versus debt that's used to purchase liabilities. 6, I'm going to teach her the power of compound interest. And while it's not my favorite in order to get rich because it takes a long time, I'm going to show her that if you invest your money and you give it some time, it can grow very, very large. And last but not least, financial literacy. I'm going to make sure that she understands how money works, the true nature of money, different investment vehicles, and how to use money to its fullest potential. So she's not afraid of it, she understands it, and she can continue to keep our legacy going.
I wanna make some dough cause I'm sick of being broke.